Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly Ascension Angel Messages for September 2nd through the 8th, 2024. So I'd like to begin by first thanking everyone for returning to this weekly series and to also welcome anyone who's new to our Angelic Wisdom community. Just a few reminders, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you have subscribed, select the all notification bell, like and dislike, and or dislike, of course, and leave your comments. If you feel called to have an angel reading with me, you can go to my current website, theangelschool.com/services. If you'd like to support my channel with a donation, you can use my PayPal me link for Angelic Wisdom LLC. So before I get into the reading, I just really want to thank everybody for all of the love and the blessings and just your thoughtfulness and kindness for my new position as a music teacher in a Catholic school in East Harlem. So thank you all very much for everything, and it's going well. There's a lot that I need to do, like in preparation for with myself, but I am taking it as it comes. I'm doing the best I can every day, and for some reason, I'm still not freaking out. But I should, but I'm not, and I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm just happy to be able. I think it's because I know the deep in my heart the service piece, and you know God's got jokes, as some people might say. And I just had so many of the signs just be very comical when I thought back on it. It was just like the dreams I've had. I've had a lot of dreams now that I recognize, and events take place in the school. Some of that I'm starting to see unfold. Like I got stuck yesterday, and it just came back to me, a dream I had. It was like a deja vu. So things like this, but also just the way the job, my bucket list of things, they were like there, and I didn't even think about it till after the fact. So it's like, you got jokes. I said a long time ago, I don't think I'd do this if blah 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 blah, and then I'm seeing that those things are happening. So I feel very good about where I am, and that's really, really important. So let's take a deep breath. And just really connect in with your heart chakra, giving it permission to just open wide. And allowing yourself to feel the love of your angels as they enfold you in their wings. Whether you can sense it or not, just know that they are surrounding you in love. And just take a moment to talk to your angel, your guardian angel, or whatever angel is working with you right now. And ask them for support and to give you a clear sign. Know that if a bird comes to you, that bird is bringing you a message from the angels. And you may not understand at all what that bird is saying or what it's chirping on about, but know that your soul understands the message, the sonics that the bird is singing nearby or over you, and that your soul is opening up, your heart is opening up. Through your heart, your soul is opening up to those sonics, to the codes and the keys that are within the sonics, and providing you with the downloads that you need. It could be courage, it could be strength, it could be confidence, it could be trust, whatever you need right now. Don't forget to ask for those qualities that you need. When you ask for the qualities, within those qualities comes the ability or abilities that you need. You can ask for the quality of justice and all the qualities that justice embodies will become a part of you at a cellular level. On a cellular level. You just have to trust, because there's a lot about ourselves and about life that is unknown. We're not always fully aware of what we're capable of, because most of the times we're suppressing it with thoughts about what you can't do. Because in the absence of knowing what you are able to do, what you're capable of, you rely on and focus upon what you know, or you think, rather, you are incapable of doing. And in so telling yourself this repeatedly, you believe it. And you believe it because the other seems to you impossible. Now, sometimes this allows us to be what we might say reasonable or realistic or practical. And so it might feel easier for you to just say, well, I just don't, I'm not the kind of person who wants to be in the spotlight. I just really would just, as long as I can just go through and manage and do the best I can, I'm fine. And that, lowers our expectations, especially when we might feel like our expectations are overreaching and you're tired of feeling that sense of disappointment or failure, however you choose to tap into that in a way that says to you, see, told you, so why try? But what's really important is that line that we toe, that fear, that line of fear that we toe, that is really just a guardrail for keeping you safe, to keeping you realistic. But if it's not satisfactory to you, that is to say, you find yourself complaining about the lot that you've accepted. And then you have to acknowledge at some point that beyond that gate that you've locked yourself within the infinite possibilities is a whole nother paradigm of life. This limitlessness, it is something that scares us because we don't know how to qualify it. We focus on what we want, but we don't often ask for the qualities that'll help us to start becoming encoded with the awareness that we need to start perceiving in order to really access them. Now, just a few minutes ago now, it is, I said that I saw the clock, it was like 9:28, and it reminded me of the angel number that I saw before I started. And it says, 9:28 says, your faith and focus on serving a purpose has put you in the flow of abundant divine support. And you know, what this kind of says to me is our faith in the unknown, our faith in our capabilities, even though they haven't all like fully developed, but our faith in them draws towards us the abundance that we need. And when we know we're serving a purpose and we put forth our capabilities in faith, not knowing yet, you're never going to know fully what your capabilities are. There's always going to be this point where you reach where it just, there is that somewhat ambiguous, it becomes that certainty becomes ambiguous again. As you keep expanding every time you tap into that faith in yourself and in your capabilities. But the purpose that allows you to move in that direction, even sometimes without even realizing it, that purpose is what calls forth those capabilities and empowers you to have faith that they exist and that they will exist. So instead of saying what you're not capable of, you can begin to believe in what you might be capable of, what's possible. As you just focus on that purpose that you, or that goal you feel strongly is calling you in some way, something that you just can't, it won't let you go. And you'll be beautifully surprised and wonderfully surprised, rather, or both, about just how capable you are. And so now you're at the precipice of this paradigm shift and this awareness, this paradigm awareness. I don't know which one comes first, the paradigm awareness or the paradigm shift. Can't accurately say because it might depend on you. But whether you have the awareness or the shift takes place, just know that whatever happens, you're ready for it. If you have the awareness, you're ready for it. Move forward with courage, but it's up to you to make that decision to move forward. If you're already experiencing the paradigm shift and things are happening, then know that you're ready. Trust that you're capable. And trust that the circumstance is going to develop the capability within you and bring it forth. You don't have to wait. All right, so let's take a look at the archangel that we're working with. And the lighting is, I don't know if it's because we don't have a lot of sunlight today because it was cloudy, or if we're getting dark. Is it getting dark earlier? I'm not quite sure. Let me see. Okay, I can adjust the exposure and see what that does for us. So we have Archangel Raguel. And Archangel Raguel, his name means the friend of God. And when this card comes up, you see he's holding those scales. And the scales of justice. And quite often, and I'm just getting a feeling about balance. Now, many of us will focus and look at everything around us and compare ourselves to others and circumstances. And we often see ourselves through a lens of injustice, imbalance, impermanence, imperfection. We focus on it as if it's an ugly thing about ourselves. That's an injustice to you. Everything that is happening or has happened in your life has always been in balance, has always been equal to the other. So what we might consider the down times or our really huge challenges versus our, happy moments, our successes, they are all one and in the same. You and I are just interpreting them differently through the lens of our ego. But everything that you've ever been through has been a steady development, a steady path of ascension. There really has not been a going down and a going up. Even in your ascension process, when we say this word, you are already in that ascended. There's already an ascended aspect of you. And what it is really is just a clearing away in order to align with it. And we have the ability to align with it at any time we choose. But we just have to step out of this belief that things are not balanced, that things are happening to you to throw you off instead of happening for you to set you up for what you really deserve, to help set you up to be aware of just how worthy you are, for every capability that you possess, that many of the things are just helping us to discover those capabilities. The absence of them is an illusion. The belief that you are not capable is your illusion. It is the thing that holds you back from having to, in one way, it's a way for you to cope. Because if I hold myself back and I create a world that holds me back, then I don't have to feel anxious about all that unknown. And I don't have to make the effort to trust or have faith in myself and in those capabilities that I'm not ready to manage or to be accountable for or responsible for. And that's okay. Trust me, I know. Because even though it took a long time, when the time was really right, when I was ready, and everything that has happened to me in the 13 years was getting me ready. And it made me ready for things that I hadn't thought about, prepared me for things. It's like the best teacher that knows how to prepare you. They know how to guide you. They know when to step back and let you just, throw the tantrums, all of that. But all of it is good, all of it. And it's all in balance. And when you can embrace yourself, even the things that you criticize, or the things that you feel that you lack, or your things that you think that make you weak, if you can embrace all of who you are, then it'll all come into balance for you in a way that's true reality, but it will no longer hinder you. It will empower you. And not just because you'll know what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. You'll realize that many of the things that you keep picking on as weaknesses, and that maybe others point out to you that you feel sensitive about, they're really your gifts. You're just unable to see it. So, when I was going through this whole process of the job interview, I was really, seeing like the way I think, and is this huge impediment. It's like, oh, nobody else thinks the way I do. Like I always feel like I'm an alien sometimes when I'm talking to people, and or when I'm inside of my brain, I'm trying to create, and then that other part of me, as I explained, I think last week, that left brain just like, oh, and I've learned to just feel bad about it instead of really understanding that those things that are coming up, like it's all the stuff I made it out to be. It's not the truth of what it really was. And when I put that part of myself, which I feel is incapable, with the part of myself that is capable, and I put the pieces together, they create something whole, something entirely different. And they may create a quality. And when that quality comes alive, once they come together, what's possible is unimaginable. But you believe in yourself in a whole different way. You believe in your life in a whole different way. So the message on the card says, be fair in all situations. Really this starts with be fair to yourself. Be fair in how you be objective in the way that you see your the dueling forces within you. The ego has split them, but the source has joined them. And that is what the source sees when it sees your pure divinity, your light, your truth. They are no longer separate, but they have become it's like combining elements, and they become something. As long as you keep judging them, these independent, separated elements, then you stay divided, which means you have no clarity, you have no sense of truth or who you truly are in a divine way. And the next message says, resolve your conflicts. And so these conflicts, if when you resolve conflicts within yourself, like this, the conflicts outside of you are instantaneously resolved, or they shift immensely. And you're gonna, whatever conversation you're having, it's gonna be a different conversation. If it's, whatever experience you're having is gonna be a completely different experience. Whatever outcome that you were heading towards, it's going to be a different outcome. All right, so let's take a look at the first card for the beginning of the week. Now, these cards were also laid down in reverse order from right to left. So this is about really personal introspection and personal development. So look at this reading as the things that you need to focus on within yourself, or start developing these things within yourself. This is how I kind of read reversals. And because they started doing this, I don't know how, within a year, like I always like cards, from like we read it from left to right, they started moving my hands to go right to left. So I read that as a reversal, but not as a reversal of energy, but just a turning in of, you know, um, sort of like turning the flashlight or the camera on yourself versus the camera out there, um, onto the people or the things around you. So we have the Two of Pentacles. And this is a card about, in this week, just starting off really juggling a lot of things. And you might have a lot on your mind, or a lot of things are just coming in, a lot of new information is coming in, and that might be creating a lot of, sort of like actions. You're giving you a lot of tasks, because this is like the Pentacles, so it's the physical, like, world. And so, I think of this as like sense of doing, right? But the thing is, this card also reminds you to have fun, and not to take yourself seriously all the time, and not to take everything seriously, but to do your best, but not to, sometimes, some of us are like, somebody says this, and then you think it's literal, like, oh my God, and then you get all, you get all, I can't think of that expression when they say you get your something all in a bunch. And so, yeah, relax, is the sense here. Relax, have fun, and just keep doing what you can. Just keep moving on, keep following your own flow, and you'll get the things done that need to be done. But if you worry, you're going to interrupt that flow, and then you won't get the things done that needed to be done. They're writing like messages in standard. And when I saw standards, like set a standard for yourself, okay? A standard that you can manage, so that it frees you up to be flexible in all the ways that you can. I don't know why I just saw the word paced, but I almost feel like, you might be trying to work, like create this something in detail, and it, like you might want to spend all this detailed time, and it might be just where you just need to like paste it, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say slap it up there, but it's sort of like, if there's something that's easier and they can get the same point across, do that. Don't get bogged down in any one thing. You won't have time for that, basically, at the beginning of the week. So if you wanted to be detail oriented at the beginning of the week, and you're feeling like really out of sorts because you can't be that, you can't do that, it's just not what's necessary. And it's a day where you're just going to be juggling a lot of things. So you need to just do what's, I just don't want to make it sound like, but you have to do what's realistic. Okay. All right. Oh, and we have the Ace of Pentacles. So this is probably indicating that, something new is, starting for you, something new, or you're working on something new, or you got some new things on your agenda, or your day is not um, what you're used to or what you usually expect, and so therefore um, you're going to really be feeling as though you're learning, you're in that unknown space, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. I'm just reading these two together, so how it's just feeling to me right in this moment. And so be aware of how you sometimes set yourself up in a new situation, and you know you have to you have these you think that people have expectations of you, so you end up sort of tightening up, muscular wise. And so this idea of just being flexible, keeping yourself limbo, and knowing that everything is happening, everything is in balance, just the way it needs to be. Whatever you get done or whatever you don't get done, excuse me, it's just what it needs to be. And then how can you, through the process of the day, how can you focus in such a way where you actually sort of acknowledge what the things that you do get done or the things that you do feel good about, because you're going to not feel great about everything, but can you just keep listing those things that you did feel good about, or that it made an impact on someone, that it was meaningful to you. You're going to have to focus this way in order to keep yourself motivated, keep yourself going, as you're just in this all this newness and fresh opportunities and things just coming at you, and new ideas, that you're going to try to nail down and get them accomplished. Another two with the scales of Archangel Raguel. So the Two of Cups. And so this is definitely about I feel like this is going to be about relationships and balancing them, right? So as you're focused on what all your tasks that you got to get done and all these new things that are being presented to you, there's also that piece in there of managing managing people's expectations, their mood, their temperaments, um, and this is a good card because it speaks to reconciliation. So, for instance, let's say you're coming back after your vacation, or you're starting a new job, or after Labor Day, and or you're coming back, and let's just say there was some kind of situation the previous work year cycle, and now you know you're just worried, or you're thinking about this and how you're going to deal with this situation. And the thing is, this card advises you to focus on the commonalities, focus on what you like about them, like really prepare yourself, give yourself enough time to really think about that. I just saw the word flash in front of me, signals. So this is interesting because if you have one way that you're thinking about them and you've always been thinking about them, those signals, you are actually the one sending that signal out, and they're picking it up, and then they're treating you according to that signal. Just like when you think you're perceiving a signal from them, and it's making you feel a certain way, and then you're basically sort of tiptoeing around the signals you're projecting that is now being projected back at you, or vice versa. The thing is, get out of that game and establish what you want to see by focusing on what you like about them, your common, the things that you have in common. This is the same inner work you need to do with yourself. You know, you don't like that you this part of yourself, or you feel like it's not adequate, until you appreciate where you are in your life and where that part of you is at. And the only way is to see how has it grown, because it's not the same weakness it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or a couple of days ago. It's grown. Why? Because you were picking at it, and it's going to try to improve itself whenever it gets your disapproval. That's what it always happens. We want to please everybody. It wants to please you. And if you start acknowledging that it's improved, it's going to turn from into a capability or strength versus being an incapable capability or weakness. All right, so let's take a look at the card I've already pulled from the bottom of the deck, and it's a death card. And so this card is signaling, and I kept saying that word, change. So one of the things that's really interesting is that many of you, this indicates to me that that paradigm shift or that paradigm awareness. And it feels a lot more like the paradigm shift. Whether it's the paradigm awareness, because it could be the same, but in my head they feel different energetically. Whether it's one or the other, this means that, as I've told you last month, you should not expect things to be the way that they have been. The world that you're stepping into, that you're already in, the paradigm shift that you're in, is not the same. And the things will not unfold the way you believe they're going to unfold. The same, relationship issues, like these, like somebody, these things are going to change for you. And I would really encourage you, because we are powerful creators, to let that go and to really have a clean slate, present a clean slate in the way that I just kind of showed you. Change the way you focus, reframe a situation, reframe a story that you've been telling and thinking that you've been living this whole time over and over again without any growth, because that's the biggest illusion that your ego has camouflaged. I can tell you this for a fact because I've done it. I'm the worst offender of all these things. And all the while, as I said a couple of months ago, that things were going to be different. There was going to be sort of this shift in September. And what I'm seeing is this accessible clarity that was just readying itself and all along, where I see myself. The camera is pointed at me, but I can see myself, and it's not as burdensome as you would think. Like when we don't want to see our faults and our weaknesses, because they become something else. They become reframed. And in that reframing, they become whole. They become part of the whole of our energetic divinity. So allow yourself to change. And the way to do this is to reframe those weaknesses, see them as tools sometimes that we just need to help us to cope, but we don't want to indulge in them. So, for instance, I can get distracted very easily. And my friend and I were like, maybe we weren't diagnosed, but maybe we all have some of these things now. But the point is working with them. So I think I told you about the app, how I feel, and it talks about distraction. And the long story, and it was like after I went through all those questions, it said, no, just take the one that's the best or the healthiest out of all of them, and just do it for 5 minutes. And now, when you take that, what seemed like a weakness, and you give it space to be for 5 minutes, like if it was just, talking on the phone or binge watching something, and instead of binge watching the whole episode, just 5 minutes. Just it, because what it would actually did is just took my mind off of the stress that my ego was perpetuating. It gave it a break. It broke the cycle, and then I was refreshed. So don't beat up yourself, because the beating up, what you're beating up on, again, everything is in balance. Everything is whole. It's a part of that wholeness. You got to reframe it. You got to see how is it helping you. If you look at it, look at the negative thing, and then ask the question, how is this being helpful to me? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it if it isn't doing something for me. It's not all bad. It's just that when we overindulge, then of course it turns into that thing that makes you feel guilty or ashamed or disappointed, or, etc. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a beautiful, beautiful week. And God bless you. And I send you all my love.